Hey, welcome to the Due Diligence Nuggets, ISHAN and SID. How are you guys?
Doing good.
Doing amazing. Thanks a lot for having us.
Yeah, thank you for this opportunity. Yep.
Oh, well, thank you very much for you guys. I've been looking at your journey in social media very closely and do two brothers. Let me tell you my personal experience. It's very rare to see the brothers working together these days in the world, you know? So I thank you for making sure you stay together, okay?
Absolutely.
And it's amazing to see you guys what you're doing. So give us a little bit of your intro, my friends. What you guys are doing, who you are, Sid, kick it off, my friend.
Yes. So we grew up. We were pretty much millionaires when we grew up, and then we saw some hardships in our life where we went from millionaire to zero real quick when we were back in India. And we understood the importance of hard work, smart work, putting in the real work. We did our engineering backgrounds. We come from engineering backgrounds in India, and then we thought we should go abroad because there is only so much. This is what we felt. There's only so much we can do in India. If you really want to make an impact, you need to go abroad. So we came here to Canada, did our masters in computer science and electronics engineering, and we got our good IT jobs, moved to Toronto, and everything was good. And suddenly it felt like something is wrong. There is something is off. Like we've always been pushed against the corner, and we believe in putting ourselves into those situations where we excel to another level.
Exactly.
Excellence. So we came here on a student's loan. Our mom had made one house, so we had to leverage that house to get student loans for both of us and come here. So once we got our IT jobs, we made sure the first thing we do is pay that mortgage out, student loan out, and my mom's home is free. After that, we lost, we always were pushed in the corner. We always were against the odds. What do we do now? I don't know. It feels so different just to take a deep, relaxing sigh and be like, okay, I think everything is so comfortable. So we went on a Euro trip for 2 weeks, and we blew good chunk of maybe 10, 15 grand.
Oh, yeah. Euros, man, euros.
Euros are very expensive. And we realized that this is life. And the worst part is we always thought that getting a good IT job is the epitome of success, according to, dreams we see and our parents' dreams. So we are here, but you can only afford maybe maximum 2 weeks of a Euro trip because you're an IT engineer. And how can we make this more than 2 weeks? How can this become more of a lifestyle? We had these questions in our mind, and we're there has to be something other than just working in our IT jobs. And that got us into real estate investing, where ISHAN started digging deeply once we got back from the vacation, and he realized that, hey, there are normal people, just normal people like us, software developer, QA testers, just average daily people who have multiple properties, who have reached financial freedom through real estate investing. And that is where ISHAN started hunting. And I was like, okay, this sounds interesting. I want to know what you're doing. So he picks me up one day and takes me to one of the meetups where one of the speakers was speaking, and he's just an average person, and he blew my mind when he told his story. And I'm like, okay, this is real and it's possible. And that's how we got started into investing. We were a little conservative in the beginning because we had practically no money when we started investing. We had barely $25,000. So our starting point when we started investing, our main focus was to learn and soak in as much knowledge as you can. Get your hands dirty, because now you are hungry and you'll do it. When you go to the next stage, you won't be willing to get down and dirty for the little stuff. So you got to get your fundamentals and basics clear. So we went to every meetup. We spoke to every person. We were also coached by one of a pretty good real estate investors called Austin Ye. So he kind of helped us out very well in the beginning and cleared our basics. And that kind of set us up to success. And I think that's how we started
pretty much.
Yeah, amazing. I mean, the story is it's very, very similar to mine. My parents had money and we lost everything. And I came here, when my parents died at a young age, and my dad died at a young age, and when dad dies, the whole business just collapses. So in back home, it's very similar. Hardship that happens. But it's amazing to see that you guys you started with the fundamentals. Like people just today in the market, people just go with speculations. Let me buy a condo and it's gonna go up. And you can see today is really that the true investor skill coming out. If you did speculation, this is the time you're gonna feel now. So it's amazing that you guys, you build a foundation, you understood the fundamentals, you are not buying anything as part of your journey. You are very strategic to it, and you guys, you're ready to go, like move on and build that, the next step. So let me ask you guys, are you actively investing? Are you passive, or what are you guys doing?
We are pretty much active investors. We believe in getting our hands dirty and do the work so that we understand the exact semantics of what it entails to do a good job from the perspective of efficiency, time, and cost. Once we have these underlying factors covered and we have a very good idea, then we can actually, while doing projects, have a good gauge from a third person's perspective how we are actually doing. How is the person performing? What are the weeds and what are the actual plans that needs to grow and things like that. So
man, that looks like the engineer aspect, eh? You want the detail oriented. Good for you. Yes, you have multiple foundations. Yeah, that's awesome. That's so I've been following the journey there, and you've been talking a lot about the eightplex. You guys, you're killing with that property. So I saw some appraisal stuff you were posting, and I went like, wow, these brothers, man, are kicking out there, So can you talk a little bit about that, and I will dive into the whole due diligence that you had to perform?
For the appraisal perspective, are you
the property, the deal?
About the eightplex. So we started wholesaling. We wanted to source our own deals for us and our partners. And while we were doing that, we stumbled upon this property, which was a fiveplex. And we were talking to the person, and we are two people, so it's very easy to communicate a good cop, bad cop scenario. So one can play with empathy and understand the exact needs. Once you know the why, it helps a lot to find a solution to the why, because the person in front should not think that, hey, these guys are here to take my money, right? So they should be first of all, feeling the trust, then come to an understanding, what would be the good number? If it's not me, it's someone else. But if it were me, what would be the good number so that we can do a business transaction and build some relationship on top of it, right? So we got this fiveplex for $810,000 initially on contract, and we started our due diligence process, but it appraised for $960,000. This was last year, sometime around May, which was pretty much a seller's market. And having something like making $150,000 on a buy, that's the bread and butter of real estate, right? You got to buy.
They always say, you make your money on the before you close it, right?
Yeah, money on the buy.
Exactly, money on the buy. That's right. That's amazing. So 500 and appraised at almost 9, right?
No,
it was a fiveplex.
Yes.
For $800,000.
Yes.
We bought it for, and it appraised for 960. So
not bad at all. Not bad.
Yeah.
So obviously, you guys, you had to do lots of due diligence on this property, to make sure that you're not buying a lemon, how you protecting my investment, right? So dive me into, the whole due diligence process you kind of did, from the beginning, when you are purchasing this deal? I know a few things, few tricks that you did there, ISHAN, but tell us a little bit, how did you do that to make sure this is a sound investment?
So first of all, I would like to say that this is a wonderful podcast which emphasizes on due diligence than giving you the fancy good feeling of how much money or numbers I made, right? So
Okay.
you are breaking it down to the crux of it and helping the investors in actual sense what will help them grow. So thank you for that and kudos. Let's get started.
Thank you for your content. Yeah, thank you as well, guys.
And regarding the due diligence process, let's break it down in two aspects. One
Right.
would be the technical aspect, which Sid will explain. And one would be the aspect which is not so technical, but the different steps which you need to follow. So I will run through those parts. So let me start with that first.
So
yes.
Before you go there,
yes,
one
please.
thing I noticed between you guys, super perfect sauce between you two. Okay, I can see ISHAN, you are that massage softy guy, and SID is like a bang on. I want to build this. Put the wall there. That is awesome. You talked about empathy and all, and I can see you coming in there as an empathy, with your soft hand, and then SID has like those hard hands, like a plumber hands,
Yeah, I feel
Is that true or not?
Yeah. We actually complement each other's
Absolutely.
skills.
That's what I'm saying. It's amazing to see you guys as brothers and just working together, because those two features, good cop, bad cop, I heard, you talking about it, it's amazing, Yeah, thank you for that. I'm so happy to see this kind of journey, people are working together,
And I'm grateful for Sid for that, being partner and being with my journey all the way along and
I know.
understanding and
It's very difficult, my friends. I went through this, and it's very difficult, to have that brother working with you side by side,
People take things for granted at
Oh
times,
no,
right?
I know, man.
It's
not easy. It's not easy. Yeah.
Just like when we bought this property, we initially should have taken it for granted. It's a fiveplex. But hey, when I started the due diligence process, I went to the city and I tried to confirm with them that I have a vested interest in this property. Can you confirm it's a 5-unit? Because the underwriting gets way different if it's a fiveplex or a fourplex. So while trying to understand what it is, apparently the building was built in multiple sections, like the first, second, and the third part. So that's how the whole thing came into together. So the city did not even exactly had a trace saying that if it's a fiveplex or a fourplex, although there were 5 units, but back in the day, adding 5 units is different compared to today, right? Things like that, like electronic meter and all this fancy stuff, right? So coming back to the point, we try to understand by the city, like if it's a fiveplex or not, so that when we go for underwriting with our lender, we should have a document saying that fiveplex. I would like to emphasize that if MPAC says it's a fiveplex, it actually doesn't mean it's a fiveplex. It should be in the city's books. That is something which is set in stone. So you need to have from the city a confirmation that it's fiveplex. So when we spoke with them, we understood that they did not have the exact idea if it's 5 or 4. Then we were like, okay, what's the way to figure it out? What's the way to figure it out? Because the computers were not live by then and whatnot. The system was not set up. Vernon's directory is basically any household, the number of phone lines they had, things like that would give you an idea that, hey, there were like one for one unit, one for another unit, and one for another unit. So that would give me an idea like how many people used to rent from back in the day.
Yeah, like on this particular address, you had 4 phone lines.
Or 5 phone lines, things like that.
Back in 1990s,
that's clever.
1980s, 2000s. So you have an idea that, okay, this is possibly a fourplex, which got converted into a fiveplex.
Yes.
And if there is a conflict with what you feel the building is, and there is a conflict with what the city feels, you can use this ordinance directory to have a case with the city.
Perfect. So that's how we figured out it's a fiveplex, basically. So we were sure now when we go to the lender, the deal was good at fourplex, the deal became great at fiveplex. So that was the first step we took, right? And that was making me sure that it's a 5-unit building and we are solid on that front, first front. Okay. Then the next step came into the picture. What's the next step? There's something called freedom of information. If you have interest on something, on a particular thing, you try to research on Google, right?
Right.
So similar to that, if there is an interest in the building, I would like to get information about the building, about open outstanding work permits that the building has, or the permits that were open or closed on time. But I would not be interested in more that was open and closed. I would be more interested in which is open and not finished, because that becomes my undertaking. And I need to make sure what my undertaking or stress factors are with association of this building, right? So we apply for freedom of information. Back in the day, it was $5 or something. Recently, they were asking 400 or something.
It might change as well with the number of units you are trying to research, what's the size of the building, and obviously from city to city, and the name might change. It might be called something else in your city, but the idea is you are trying to get information about the building with what is open currently.
Correct. So I figure out what's the open work permits associated with the building. So these are the factors which I did on my part. I can get into the detail, but I think we can talk about the detail later. Just give the audience an idea about, first figure out if it's legally 4-plex or 5-plex or whatever amount of unit it's mentioned. Second, figure out if there is any outstanding work permits associated with the building. So these are the things which I did from my side, right, in the part of due diligence. Now there is technical aspect which Sid would like to explain.
Yeah. So, well, that was very well said, I would say. Because sometimes, just to add a little bit on that, because sometimes when you're talking multifamily buildings, it could be a 4-plex with a house meter. So technically it has 5 meters, and someone somewhere squeezed.
We have seen that a lot.
Yeah. And you don't know if it's a 5-plex because it looks, everything looks legal and you're happy to see 5 meters. So it might be, like that, those are the things that you're not sure about. Now, there are a bunch of things we did for this building, but we have learned a lot once we did this building. So I would just incorporate everything and would tell you what I would do next when I find a building. And these are the steps we do for due diligence.
Awesome.
So first of all, I would like to jump into electrical. So you would like to see how many units are there and how many, what do you call, breaker boxes or meters are there. So like I said, the ideal situation would be you have an 8-plex and it has 9 meters. So one for every unit and then one extra for the house, which is common areas, exterior lighting, or anything that needs to be powered in the mechanical room. Right. Next thing you would see, what is the amperes of every breaker box? Like what's the amps? So back in the day, standard was 60. Now it is 100. So now this will help you in the future if the density of that area increases, you're adding more units. And this kind of helps you gauge, because if you do some sort of big renovations, the electrical supply company, which is Energy Plus in our scenario, will not allow you to keep those 60s and add 100s on the new ones. They might ask you to just upgrade all of them,
the whole line,
a standard 100, because this is what these companies or even the city does. They are looking at the scope of the project and they're like, oh, if you are spending this much money, you might as well spend a little more and upgrade the whole thing. And then suddenly you just incur an additional cost of 20-30 grand, which you had not expected. So it would be best to have your electrical guy walk through a property once it's under contract, once it's in due diligence. That would be the ideal situation. The worst thing you can have in terms of electrical would be knob and tube wire, because that's absolute worst, because that is condemned. Like whenever you see knob and tube, you have to absolutely replace it.
Right. So so it's an interest, and I want to emphasize this part here is that we went through a market, right, where you could sell anything to anybody, right? People were buying left and right with no due diligence, and personally, I did take an opportunity. I would be honest about it. I took an opportunity to give me one sec here. I took the opportunity to sell a property for that reason. where, I knew there are lots of beginner investors, and, they are not doing any due diligence. It was just about buy. So I turned the property. It was 80-year-old that was converted to a duplex nicely, but it was time to go, and that's what I wanted to emphasize, is that the due diligence that you guys are doing in your projects, those are so fundamental, to any deal, because again, you're protecting the asset, right? You're protecting, we always say, like you buying the property from a beginning, you don't want to get stuck with the issues that you, if you didn't do, for example, that city, people will, you won't know that you can even continue to build this or make changes,
Absolutely.
amazing. I mean, amazing steps. I mean, these
Yes.
are this is how I feel personally, that you are protecting my asset.
Absolutely. Like even if you spot knob and tube wire and it is the whole property, like even if it's a 1,500, 2,000 square feet single family home, the cost of replacing knob and tube wire is close to 20 grand. So suddenly you just incurred an expense which you didn't know. And like in March, the market was in a way where you can't have no conditions. You walk to the property with your agent and scope out as much as you know to the best of your knowledge.
That's
like
right.
for us, we when we walk through property, we get to know a lot of things, and we are already in alert mode as to soak in everything.
It's a checklist in the head,
Exactly. Like I'm just in my mind, I'm just like,
your
okay,
eyes are just going like a wipers,
yeah. In my mind, I'm just having like a price addition list. Like, okay, 2 windows need to be replaced.
What I was
plumbing is cast
100%. When I was buying duplexes in Brampton area, like a semi bungalows duplex, it was I used to train my kids. I say, check if there is a door on the side already pre-built. Check the foundation. They will be walking around the house. Daddy, there is a crack here.
So cool.
That's so sweet. That's so amazing.
Right, because your eyes are everywhere. I mean, that's the investor journey, right? As soon as you enter in the property, you are not looking the beauty chandelier. Who cares?
Absolutely.
All right. So electrical part, and then what about the outside? Continue, please.
Yeah. So in terms of that, you are good. Next thing I would just jump into, like, as long as you have a good electrical guy you have decent amount of due diligence period, he can come on site, walk through the whole thing, and give you some tips on what he feels, because there can be a good mix of copper wiring, different aluminum wiring, and knob and tube. You have to replace. Some insurance company won't even let you insure.
That's right.
When you have a mix of bunch of different types of wires, again, your insurance premiums go up. Ideally, you would like everything copper, everything straightforward, but your electrical guy needs to walk through the building, because when you're looking at multifamily buildings, your income minus the expenses, what the building is generating. And in that, like, if your insurance is going up because you missed, there's aluminum wiring and you missed it, it's not that good of a deal then, right? If the cost of building goes up. So that is electrical. Then you jump into plumbing. In plumbing, you have to make sure, just Google, see what cast iron plumbing look like. Like there are in older buildings, you'll have like a big stack of cast iron, which is absolutely not good. That's the worst, because it rots it eventually rots, and that's like, you have to eventually replace it. Ideally, you would want plastic looking PVC pipes, or copper pipes will also be good. And when you look at the plumbing, you can see how the building has evolved. Like your main stack is still cast iron, but you have plastic connections coming to it. Right. That means there were changes made to the building, but no one has taken care of the big expense, right? So that is one thing. On top of that, you can get your plumbing guy. Like for bigger buildings, what they do is you can get your plumbing guy to come and put a camera through the plumbing to see the size of the pipe, how it changes, how 3-inch pipe goes to 2 inches main stack, and then 3 inches down here. And then when it's underground, what is it changing to?
Wow.
So that they can tell you. On top of that, when they put the camera in,
Yes.
they can tell you how much blockage is there. So you might need to, that is an additional expense of, hey, you might need to flush the whole system once, because lots of people have been dumping
not many
bacon
people
grease
do
and no one
this.
has, it's like, it's never clean. So this is another thing we understand whenever we walk through the property. We make it a point to talk to the tenants, ask them, hey, what issues have you faced in the last 6 months in this property? He will be like, oh, this vent is not working properly, the window is cracked, but the last owner didn't fix it. Sometimes so in the property we bought, the lady said, when the water softener flushes at night, there is a regeneration cycle for the water softener. So when that happens, in the middle of the night, water will start coming up from the sink and start overflowing in the property at 2 a.m. You're like, oh, this is really bad. So these are the little things you would
You know what? I just want to capture another nugget that you just throw there. Not many people speak to the tenants.
Yes, correct.
That's the gold mine, right? Because you're gonna hear a pile of, a range of issues, right? But what you want to listen to is those, those little complaint, but they're big deal, like this water coming up. That's a huge indication as well,
Yeah. Another big thing I would see, like one of the biggest enemy of any property, of any real estate, is water. At least in Canada, it is definitely water. It will erode through anything that comes in the way. So you have to make sure, keep your eyes wide open, see if there are water damages in the basement, or if the downspouts coming from a property are not redirected properly. So in our case, our property was on a slope. So we know everything, all the water that hits the front of the building will hit the building. So we had an idea there might be water damage in the basement because all of that water is coming and hitting the building. And it's just on the front, there is a sidewalk, like the cement pad, which again should be sloping away from the building, but it's not sloping inwards. Inside. Everything is just hitting.
Those are things you don't see, man. You don't see in any of the listing or anything like that.
Yeah, it's just asking for problems. Yeah, in the building that way. Like, come on, like, right?
So we expected there to be water damage in the basement, and we did see a lot of water damage in the basement. So we had in our mind, we had already thought, okay, 20 gallon for waterproofing. So we waterproofed the whole front and one side of the basement of the property, like going down to the footings. So now it's bulletproof for life. That was one of the important things that we did. Next, you would like to just walk through the building, see if there are any major cracks or shifting. Like when you see a bunch of bricks and you see a crack which is going along the grout, that is fine. That is your building shifts over time, all the movement. And if it goes along the grout, that is still acceptable. But if it cuts through any of the bricks, then something's wrong. Like there was so much pressure that it cut through the bricks. Like if a crack is going down through a couple bricks, that's probably should be an alert. Get a masonry guy or someone to come and take a look.
And also to watch for the a freshly a patching that was done, the fresh cement that was kind of done around the house,
sometimes I've seen they'll not use the mortar. They'll use the caulking, normal. I'm like, come on, like, wow. So that itself tells a lot about the owner, the way he used to do things. So you are already at the back of the mind, engine is running. Okay, there's going to be more problems. Keep looking. Don't leave no stone unturned. Like, that perspective wise,
So just continuing on that topic, you got to make sure all the downspouts coming down are pushing water away from the building. So if this is the building, you want the water to push away. It shouldn't be like you're pushing the water here, but it's on a slope. So the water will circle back and come back to your building because now the whole square footage of your roof is dumping that much water and it's just going back to your foundation. So for us, we knew that the gutters and the downspouts weren't done right. So I would say, like, I involved a good company who specializes in this. So we high level designed as to where we'll have the downspouts. So our building was on a slope. So we made sure that no downspouts is pushing water towards the top of the slope, because it's again going to
come back. Yeah.
So we are dropping all the water at the back of the property, pushing it further away from the property, and it's on a slope. So it just goes downhill.
Right,
so that was another of.
And sometimes we used to just go and see, like, it's under contract, it's raining, let's go and see what's happening over there. Is the water flowing from the outside? Just drive by from and just see, like, go to the parking lot. These are the things which we
small
do,
things like that. Very
small things.
Yeah.
Right?
I used to when I was buying duplex in Brampton, right? So I used to go camp at nighttime in once I had under contract. And I'm kind of camping at nighttime in that street to see if there is any party goers at nighttime. How's the street? Is it a calm for because my portfolio was more on family oriented, single family or duplex. So I will go sit there and make sure that it's nice and peaceful, like everybody said.
Correct.
Especially when I was starting investing in Hamilton. Hamilton East.
Like this is the best thing to do, what you're saying. Just go there and sit on an evening, sit in your car, put on a podcast, just listen to something that entertains you, and sit there for 3, 4, 6 hours. Because when you're sitting there on an evening, that to a Friday evening, you will know how many people are buying, selling drugs, how rough the neighborhood, how rough it is. So you gauge it very nicely if you're just sitting there on a Friday evening or like a decent
100%.
amount of time, right?
There were times, I would like to add something on that quickly. There were times when I was standing outside a building in a place, in a city in US somewhere, and I did not want to even roll my window down. I was like, let's get out of here, please. I want to go back home safe.
So,
very good point, sir.
Part of the due diligence. How safe do you feel?
Absolutely. Got to do all of it, right? I'm trying to think what else, what other important points are there.
If you get to know, just add it in between. But I think you gave a very in-depth analysis about semantics of how you broke it down. It was very nice.
Another important thing would be when, so it just comes to me slowly. So when you're walking through properties, you can, like if you are a little bit about construction, you would know if the wall is drywall or plaster. Because if it's plaster, which a lot of old buildings are, your demolition cost goes drastically up. And then there is no good way of removing half of it and keeping half of plaster, because it's never gonna look straight, and you cannot even slap another layer of drywall on top because
and there is a pieces of small woods like a wall, right? It's a different, right?
Strapping. You can do strapping and then but it's still never gonna be perfect.
It won't be the same.
And so these are one of the things that you need to see, because when you get into demolition, you will find out that, the cost of demolition is really high. And even when you walk out of the house and there is a common area, but there is a drop, you know that there has been tile, then laminate, and then no one removed the laminate but put the vinyl on top. So when you're demolition, when you're doing demolition for all this, now you are just aggregating cost of just one layer. Now you have 3 layers, and this happened to us. We had like drywall, plaster, gypsum board, cement boards. There were like three layers, and we're like, is it better to just slap another layer on top and keep going, or just do things the right way?
Yeah, I've seen the flooring, especially people with the tiles, right? They didn't want to touch the tiles, and they just slap vinyl on top of it,
Absolutely.
Right. And especially those, in Brampton, I think, when I started the journey of looking at the duplexes, right? You will have those tiles that are laminate, but the old style, the square ones, the sticky ones, and that's what people were using, right? So you end up, if it's in the early 1960s, then you have a problem, right? That's right. Amazing. So
another point just to add to that. So usually if it's 1 feet by 1 feet, that's good. But if if the sticky tiles are less than 1 feet, like if it's 9 inches by 10 inches or 9 inches by 9 inches or 10 by 10. What was that substance I told you that you need to get the white substance that I told you in one of the walkthroughs that you need a specific company to come and take out?
Oh, asbestos or something.
So
Yeah.
any flooring which is tile flooring and it's less than 1 feet by 1 feet, you have to be alert that this might entail
May
this
contain
removal company. So that's another expense that you might have.
Oh yeah. And that always scares me off, right? Because it's health issues,
Yes,
Plumbing is the different thing, but that particular one is it can be on the walls, can be on tiles, right? It's all and the paint as well,
And even mold, right? Like mold, mildew, once it starts growing, there you have to get a proper mold removal company, or you have to get like do the steps that you have to. You can't just wipe it out and then be like, okay, it's clean now, because it never really went away. And then you understand that if there is black lines or just mold, mildew, some spots in the house, and tenants do live like that, and it's just scary because that will harm your lungs, especially kids' lungs. If you have kids in the house, you're like, that can really harm their respiratory system. And on top of that, you now get to know that there is no proper venting in the property, because you do walk into washrooms where you don't have an exhaust.
There's no exhaust. Yep.
You walk into kitchens where there is a fan exhaust, but it's just a fan. It's just rotating the air. It's not connected. It's not pushing air outside. So these are the things you kind of just open the box and see. And then you're like, okay, so like moisture has been just sitting there in these bedrooms, in these washrooms, or there is no proper venting in the system. So you have to add an expense of, okay, I will need to add proper venting.
What about what about the whole heating system? When you what do you look around that?
So old heating systems, I would say, like, okay, there are 2-3 types of it. So let's talk about furnaces, which you see in single family homes, maybe duplexes, triplexes, right? So some of these old systems, they are not efficient, but they were built in a very different way, where they just keep going on for a good 10, 15, 20, 25 years. And that's just amazing, because nowadays, if you put a new furnace, it does not last that long, to be honest. So when you look at a furnace, which is more than 10 years, like, you won't replace a furnace unless you are doing a proper gut job and you're doing electrical audits and like energy audits and stuff. But you have to always encompass like an additional cost of maybe the AC air conditioner looks old, so maybe I'll need to spend 2-3 grand on an air conditioner. Same with the furnace, you might have to spend $3,000 to $5,000 on a furnace. When you walk into the property, if it's not looking spick and spank, you know that it's 10 years older. And when it's 10 years older, it might be that it might die in the time that you're holding the property.
Right. So in your opinion, maybe I can ask you guys as the expert here, have you seen those heating systems that have these big giant oil containers in like in a tank, I mean, in the basement, and is it better to in the long term or short term to replace it and put something a gas base?
The oil container thing is always, you have to replace it, because if there are oil spills because of that huge container, that might mess up the environmental of your land. And if that happens, then
that's even more loss.
A property changes hands. If it's a small property, no one digs into the environmental stuff. But when the property is like a multi-unit 10, 20, 30, 40 unit building, a lender won't even give you a mortgage until he sees the first phase environmental. So if you have these types of like tanks, which were used back in the day there, it might be a red flag that, hey, this might just not pass the environmental 1. Then you have to do environmental 2. Then you do need to do remediation, which can be anything from $5 grand to $100,000. You don't know. So even when you're looking at properties, if it's right next to a factory, you need to be in alert mode, because this might, if the owner does not have an environmental 1, You got to make sure that you put it in the contract that you need an environmental one, phase one, to be a part of the conditions that you need to sign off on the property. Because if there was an oil spill or this was mechanics garage back in the day, and now you're building a property on that, the soil is contaminated. Correct. And if you buy the property and your lender won't lend you because it does not pass as environmental, now it's your problem.
Yes.
Yeah. No, I remember, meeting another investor. He purchased, a fiveplex, but it was, we always like a beautiful location close to water rivers and stuff like that. But then, I don't think extensive due diligence was done at the level of, checking even the sewer system and lines, right?
Yeah.
So unfortunately, what happened on the investment is that as the river was kind of rising from a water point of view during the rain season and all that, the water somehow he was always getting some sewer backups.
Yeah.
For some reason, so they always say the property will need to have those sewer protection kind of flappers, the in your main plumbing
it
system.
shuts down when it starts backing up.
Yeah, but not every property has it, right? So especially in those days,
And even having a sump pump, right? That's such important of a thing, having a sump pump, because if your property falls in the flood area, you can get to know this information from the city. If your property falls in the flood area, when the water starts backing up, it's highly possible that your basement will flood. So at that point, you need a sump pump to push water outside your property so that it does not get flooded. Another important point I remembered with that is, so when you buy properties in KWC, which is Kitchener, Waterloo, Cambridge, where we are located, we always make sure that we check the GRCA website. What is GRCA? So there is a Grand River flowing through KWC, going all the way to Brantford and Hamilton, I don't know where all. There is an association with that Grand River, and they will let you know if you are in their GRCA floodplain or not, because
flood zone or whatever they call it.
Then if you don't have a proper parking and add a unit, you can have a minor variance, have that conversation with the city.
You can move the property from the flood zone, my friend.
Exactly. So what happens is,
so they shut you down.
If you are trying to add units and GRCA tells like, oh, you're already in this zone where we should not allow you to add more units, there is no minor variance. So for us, if anything is under GRCA, it's a red flag, because I know that there will never be a minor variance. If they say no, there is nothing I can do to fight that.
Correct. So very, very good point. Like this 5-unit building, which we converted into 8, had this been in GRCA jurisdiction, you wouldn't even have a chat on the table saying that I want to add units. Just bye-bye, do more homework, right? So this is amazing.
Amazing. And not only that, but also just the protection of the river flow, and the water rising these days, right? With all these rains that we are getting,
Like I'm telling you all these nuggets, like we are currently converting this 5plex into an 8plex, which is close to an end line. And we have spent close to $1 million in renovation on this property. And we have learned a lot of things about the nitty-gritty details. And that's how we have gained so much experience and information. And that's what we are sharing here with you guys.
Not everybody does that detail, Sid. You guys, you are like I know you are behind you are the brain behind all these checklists,
stuff it interests me a lot.
Yes. In fact, I saw another video that you were doing a walkthrough, and you are always in the front, looking at your head is always going around, so that's amazing. So, it's amazing. We can talk for nuggets, due diligence, for forever, but we'll put a link, below for everybody that wants to reach out to you and, help them, with these questions. We all started from there, helping each other. Let me move to the few questions. What's next for you guys, and what is the timeline? What are you guys, your big plans these days now?
So the next venture for us is, now that we have gained a lot of experience of doing in-depth gut job on a multifamily apartment building conversion process, adding units. Now we want to go all guns blazing in apartment building space. And we are looking right now, we have a few contacts where things are going in the deal pipeline. We are having some communication, negotiation. It's a lot of back and forth. Like you got to have a chat, understand the needs. So we are looking to get our next apartment building sooner than later. We are looking for somewhere at the least 10 or 20 units minimum, and then it can go above from there. And we are looking predominantly in 1 hour radius of Cambridge right now. And
Nice.
we have connected with tons of people, and there's a lot of communication going on, a lot of different strategies, talking about seller financing, interest rates hiked so much, getting their mortgage. So we have so many things down the pipeline, so much stuff going on right now. And we would like to grow in that space, having so much experience, and having a partner like Sid is priceless. It's so valuable. Like you go into the building, he checks out all the boxes, I'm communicating, I'm taking out the other part of the puzzle. So it's not just about like it's my asset or my partnership with Nazir or say XYZ. It's about the experience which we have gained with $1 million renovation, with a year's time period over one project. You cannot find that anywhere, my dear friend.
So
That's what I would like to emphasize.
there is no
right?
general contractor on this project.
Yes.
We are the general contractors.
Right.
By we,
So
I
Yeah.
mean we.
so yeah, we've learned a lot, I would say.
Yeah. I mean, those doing the work, like I always say, it's a massive tuition that you pay to yourself. It's superseding our engineering degrees and all that.
Absolutely.
The $1 million that you have
Absolutely.
invested,
Yes.
it is not only making the property better, but it's also the knowledge that you have acquired yourself. Now you have that, you are able to protect everybody's asset. Me as an investor, I will feel comfortable and saying, you know what, I'm going to invest with you guys, because I know you're going to be performing this due diligence every single place,
Yes.
So, hopefully, Sid, keep moving your head around, keep monitoring, what's going on before you even, I'm sure you do that before you even go there. You check the Google Maps and all the streets and,
Oh, absolutely. We do a lot of due diligence even before we step on the property. We
Right.
have a lot of information.
Right.
We get through the property as well to get to know.
Like when we were in the United States with our mentor Alfonso, and we were looking buildings in Arizona, we'll talk to random strangers who are living by to understand, like, hey, has there been like cops over here? Is it safe for family? Because I want to move with my kids.
That's right.
Kids. But when an aspect of that comes, he's like, okay, he's asking for his kid. It's not about how much money he's making.
Right.
You see, like the person wants to share with you now.
That's right.
So all these homework which we do behind the scenes, that is not yet shared.
Yeah.
That you'll get to know when you partner with us.
Yeah. That's where you come in, ISHAN. That's amazing, man. That's amazing. So, in part of your journey, right? Are you taking partnerships? It's not always, in my opinion, it's not always money, it's not like I bring you $2 million, you're going to be jumping on it. Strategically, I'm assuming you are looking for partners.
Yes.
And if so, can you give me the avatar and of the investors that you want to work with?
So if some guy, some person, some lady right now listening to this podcast is an accredited investor, has tons of money, what is the first thing that person's mind is going through right now? How is my investment safe and how much money I'm going to make? Two parameters. How is it safe? Has been conversed amazingly by this gentleman next to me, Sid.
Mhm.
And next, after that, how much investment, like how much we are going to make and whatnots we are going to do. That's what we are looking to share with them. So they have to have a clear perspective about what kind of returns they are looking for. It's not a handheld process. So we'll share with them what the returns are, what our experience is, and how we are going to achieve this with the team we have in place. So Sid, along with his crew of so many people who are like specific to different scopes. So Sid brings that expertise. I bring the other expertise of acquisition part, and then we kind of
tenant
negotiations and all those aspects, and then we pretty much grow from there. But the participant who's partnering with us as a passive partner, they should have basic foundation and idea as to what they actually want, what they actually need. It should not be spoon feeding, which I get at times because people are trying to learn. They see two young dudes like, all right, you can just connect with them. But if you can find out the answer on Google, if you've not done that much homework, it becomes tough. So the people who are actually vetted and really looking to invest with us, reach out to us. We are looking to share with you guys our acquisitions, prospective acquisitions, and pretty much take it on from there.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Do you explain the candidate, like candidate investors, right? Do you explain them also upfront, how long is this journey, how long is this
Correct.
investment, right?
Yes.
So there is
Yes.
no surprises, because I ran into a situation where
Yes. Yes.
I was thinking 5 years and people start knocking my door, they want the money back 1 year after.
Yeah, so there should be set expectations.
Yeah.
And the most important thing about a joint venture partnership is we talk about these situations where, hey, if you want to exit in a year, what happens? Hey, if I want to exit in 2 years, what happens? And we lay out those situations and draft up a good contract, which entails all the situations. So whenever we are in a situation, you just go back to the document, it tells you what exactly you're
Awesome.
supposed to do, right? And I think, like, if anyone is interested in learning what we are doing, I would say that partnership is a very good way of learning, easiest way of learning, because we have had a few partners who were newbies, but there was a good level of trust, and they learned so much along the way of doing the things. And because if you are my partner Nazir and you ask me, hey Sid, why are we changing the heating system? Whatever I know, I'll tell you. But you need to have the curiosity to ask me, to know some sort of basics of, hey, but the rads look good, but I know the boiler system does not look that fancy. Why are we changing it?
Right.
If you're curious, I will happily let you know.
And I would like to add one more thing for those who have money and looking to invest. As you emphasized, term can take 5 years plan. So there are creative ways to work things out. For example, if you want to partner with me, you have some business going on in India, South Africa, China, wherever it is, and you need your returns in a year or 2 years. So I can tell you that, hey, you get this much equity in the partnership for this house. But if I pay you on the year 1 and year 2, X percentage of return on your money, then I can buy your part of the equity out so that you can have your quick money. You can roll it in the multiple businesses you have, because not everybody relies completely on real estate, right? Everybody has their own side gigs, right? So this is like different way of creating partnership in a way which is productive for A type of partner, B type of partner. A requires money soon, but he wants to know that he's putting his money in the right place, so he's getting equity initially, and then there are terms and everything. B is like, hey, I just want after my 5 years when my kid graduates and whatnots, I just need my money juiced out by then. So whatever term you have, you're planning to refinance in the first 2 years or 5 years, whatever it is. So there are like multiple different strategies. So you have to understand what you need as a partner so that we have an idea and we can present it. And if it's a match, then we work. Otherwise,
because every deal is different, and something, a small property might just need 3 months, 6 months, a year to turn over. And when you look at bigger buildings like 20, 30, 40, 50 units, the minimum you speak is like, hey, we are looking at 2-year projections where we are looking at conservatively. We always use conservative numbers of, hey, we might only be able to turn over 50, 60% of the property. So based on the deal, the semantics of the returns, the number of years which are minimum required changes, and according to that. So the best thing a person can do is be upfront about what their needs are, and we can find, because we keep getting deals like these, so we can find something that fits, that something might fit you perfectly, but not fit his investing strategy, right? So being upfront is very important.
And knowing what you need.
Yeah, clarity, Otherwise, people they don't know what they invested in, right? So the job is really to explain everybody, the investor, what is the journey, what kind of length or time frame you're looking for, what is the exit strategy, life happens, right? Anywhere life happens, people will, kids are going to university suddenly, I did not plan for that, but hey, Sean, we have a property together. I need some money now.
Totally.
It's amazing. It's amazing. Hey, guys, thank you very much for this. I have a last question. What will be any of those books that you read that really spark your curiosity? Can you share that with the listeners? Any books?
Any books?
There is a lot of
Books.
We have read so
Pick
many
one
books,
here in the back.
like Who Not How, E-Myth Revisited.
Yeah.
Right.
So many.
Listed life cycle. So I would like to emphasize, I love this book called Money People Deal, because
I was gonna say
initially
that.
when I started, no money. How can you do things? Stephen Arnio, the author of the book, passed away.
Yep.
And this gentleman was awarded the JV of the Year of Canada or something.
Yes,
He did not do the maximum number of deals, nor did he do the maximum amount of the dollar amount for the deals, but he was still voted better than the other folks. Why? Because of the creative ideas, how he structured the deal, and creatively, like it sometimes does not make always sense to make a 2-bedroom unit. Sometimes it makes sense to make 1-bedroom unit because of the cost of construction and after return value, and then the money, the profit percentage which you're making. So things like that were sparked by Money People Deal by this amazing gentleman.
That's
So
amazing.
that's one of the books I would like to emphasize. But other than that, Who Not How, one of the important books for at least people who come from India, where the strategy is like you have to do everything yourself, cook the meal, clean the dishes. That's not how you go from like in ideology. There is a person, Malcolm, some guy, he said, what got you here won't get you there. So you have to always keep changing and evolving. And Who Not How is a very good book where you have to get subordinates to help you.
But I would say go and talk to everyone. Go and talk to all the people, talk to all the contractors, talk to all the real estate investors, brokers, agents. They will give you a lot of idea and take action. Taking action is the biggest thing. Take action.
And one of the big one, one of the big one you said is, you not learn fast, partner with somebody that has done it,
Yes, correct. Yeah,
that's the best tuition fee you can pay,
Exactly. Like we could have bought a cottage rental and run it on Airbnb and made a lot of money in the past 1 year. Brilliant idea. And had another cottage. But the experiences which you have learned with a gut job of conversion process of an apartment building, good luck trying to learn that at your daddy's expense or your personal expense. And then we'll talk about it. So
there's no course for that.
Exactly. And there's a value to be gained from that, right? And that's the value we bring. And the person, if they have clarity, boom, here we have something interesting spurring.
No, I'm just thinking even simple as duplex conversion. If I have no idea, but you guys, you have done a big scale conversion.
Yes.
That's amazing knowledge that people can partner with you and then continue their journey. Yes. That's the acceleration of knowledge. Guys, it's been a pleasure. And
Thanks,
again,
bro.
like I said, I can emphasize, it's so happy to see you both working side by side. It's been an amazing podcast. How people can you reach out to you guys? Is it through Instagram, Facebook? Can you share that as well?
Yeah. So the best way to reach out to us would be Instagram, but we are on Facebook, email, everything works. On Instagram, my handle is kidyouNot_Sid. ISHAN's handle is ishan.khobare. We will send you the details and you can have it in the keynotes of this podcast.
Yeah. And we have like a business page. If neither of us connected with you, just drop a message on the business page. Someone from our team will get back to you. That's Khobare.capital, Khobare.capital. So we have that on Facebook, Instagram, and
awesome. It's been a pleasure, guys. I'm just super pumped to post this this podcast, man. It's been a long time we've been talking about this, right, ISHAN?
Yes. And I'm so happy that after the 3 months you got a podcast to do with us. There was a surge of energy. I hope I made it worth your time.
Oh yes, 100%. And I was just excited about it. It's been it's been life's journey a little bit for the past couple of months. I'm like, I gotta get these brothers on board. That will pump me as well, just to see the energy. So thank you for that, guys. Thank you for that.
Thank you.